much I think the dad has that much control over Daniel. But it's like we're
jab, nothing changed. He deserved the knockout because he never changed something like that.
Imagine getting ready for the biggest fight of your life, and your own dad throws a party the night before. That's what happened with Daniel Dubois. Former champion Johnny Nelson didn't hold back. He said Daniel's dad, Stan, acted like he knew everything, but really, he ruined his son's big night. Johnny even called him out for living in a dream world and letting his pride mess everything up. It wasn't just a bad move, it was careless, embarrassing, and almost felt like he was trying to ruin things on purpose.
I just think to do something so stupid, and I mean stupid, if he thinks he knows better than every top trainer in the world, he thinks he knows better than every top fighter in the world, even though he's never got to that level, he's on another planet. And I think he made an expensive mistake at the cost of his son's
Stan Dubois got blasted by Johnny Nelson, who didn't hold back one bit. He called Stan a problem, not a help, throwing a party during fight week and showing no respect to coach Don Charles. Johnny said that's not brave, that's just foolish. He slammed Stan for bringing street drama into a world-class fight. What should have been a focused championship moment turned into a loud, messy disaster, all because of Stan's choices.
Dad, if my man's putting a party on and saying, we ain't fighting unless all the crew come in, on fight night, he's an idiot. I don't know him personally, so I can't, but what I'm seeing is foolishness. How can you be so stupid? That's street mentality. This is world-class boxing.
Carl Froch didn't hold back. He said this isn't a birthday party, it's war. Real fighters walk into the ring like warriors, not like they're heading to a celebration. Froch made it clear, if Dubois' team thought it was okay to party before going up against a killer like Usyk, then they clearly didn't understand the moment. It showed they weren't serious, and it cost them big.
In party mode, you're in fight mode. You're in, I could be walking to a certain death mode here. This is the hurt game. This is a dangerous, hard sport where people get seriously injured in there. And when you're fighting, you want to be in the mode of fight zone, fight mode. Let's go, I'm going to battle, I'm going to war, I'm a fucking warrior. I'm going in there to do some damage and potentially getting some damage done to me.
Carl Froch said it plain and simple. This was war, not a party. And Dave Coldwell went even deeper. He pointed out how all the fake hype around Dubois didn't help him. It hurt him. The loud cheers, the empty praise, the false hope, it didn't build his strength. It broke it. Dubois didn't walk in with his own drive. He walked in carrying everyone else's dream, and it weighed him down.
It's there's pressure coming on more and more, even by people just saying, good luck, mate. You've got this, mate. You're going to smash him, mate. It's just a bit more pressure, a bit more tension, a bit more expectancy from them that's added on to the fighter. The fighter's going into the ring, not only wanting to win the fight for himself, but also feels the added pressure from the team.
Building on what Dave Coldwell said, Adam Smith didn't hold back either. He said this wasn't just a loss, it was a complete failure in preparation. Dubois never gave himself a real shot, and Stan Dubois made things worse. When you're up against someone as smart and skilled as Usyk, you can't afford chaos or careless mistakes. Smith was clear, there are levels in boxing, and Dubois was never close to Usyk's.
The way that I think you should prepare for an undisputed heavyweight championship, I can't see how his mind, surely you want to give yourself the best possible chance. That said, he went out, he gave it his best, and he lost. He lost to the better man, and it was a case.
Don Charles tries hard to make the Wild Party sound like it was just a simple get-together, but no matter what he calls it, the harm is already done. When a fighter is about to face the biggest challenge of his career, he doesn't need loud music, a big crowd, or noise. He needs to stay calm and focused. Saying it was like the AJ fight prep doesn't make sense. AJ is not Usyk, and that wasn't for all the belts. This wasn't smart planning. It looked more like they were setting themselves up to fail. Stan Dubois, with Don backing it, turned a serious moment into a circus. It didn't help Daniel, it hurt him, and now trying to cover it up just makes the whole thing look even worse.
Let's retract. Let's replace the word party with gathering. It was a gathering. Okay?
Okay.
Right. The same gathering we used for the prep on fight day for the
Adam Smith tries to be polite, but he can't hide the truth. He quietly points out what everyone's thinking. Stan Dubois is not a real trainer. He's a dad pretending to be a coach, treating a world title camp like it's a family barbecue. Even the fact that Stan uses 2 different names feels strange. But what's worse is how he keeps using old ways for new fights, as if every battle is the same. This wasn't a school meetup, it was a heavyweight war, and Usyk is no AJ. Just because something worked before doesn't mean it always will, especially when it's mixed with pride and bad choices. Smith says it clearly, the team didn't look prepared. The photos from fight night didn't show focus. They showed a group ignoring the truth. Stan may care for his son, but it seems he cared more about being in charge, and that mistake cost them everything.
In this sport for a long time, I haven't seen that sort of thing before. However, Don Charles has come out saying they had it last time, it worked with the AJ fight. Dave Dubois, Stan Dubois, goes by 2 names, doesn't he? Has a very, very special relationship with his son, and maybe he thinks he knows best. This is where the difference is with a trainer, Don Charles. Did Don want it? He said that's what we did before, and it worked with AJ. Maybe Daniel's the sort of guy that like to keep things the same way, but the picture's coming out. Yeah, look, it's
Duke McKenzie doesn't hold back. He's shocked. 60 or 70 random people hanging around Daniel Dubois before the biggest fight of his life. That's not smart. Call it a party, a meetup, or even a promo trick. It all smells like poor planning. Most of those folks likely had no idea what was really on the line, and they weren't helping Daniel get his mind sharp. This wasn't a club night or a red carpet event. It was fight night. And the man stepping into that ring needed silence, sharp focus, and world-class energy around him. But instead, he got loud music, people taking selfies, and distractions everywhere. McKenzie says it didn't make sense, and the fans agree. It felt more like a show than a fight camp. No serious boxer would allow that kind of mess before facing someone like Usyk, who's calm, clever, and deadly. Stan made it about attention, not training, and Daniel paid the price for it.
You're 70 people hanging around you, or people that you don't even know, probably half of them, that's not a good look, if that is the case. I can't really understand what their method of thinking would have been, why they would have been having some kind of a celebration party, quote unquote, whatever they were doing, but you don't want to be around that many people. It's bad.
Shane Mosley speaks with care, but his words still carry weight. He quietly points out what others are shouting. Daniel Dubois just wasn't ready for a fighter like Usyk. The pressure, the nerves, the gap in experience, it was all too much. Even if Daniel had been in top shape, the real fight was in the mind, and Usyk owns that space. Mosley's been in tough fights, and he knows the signs. He's gently saying Daniel was already drowning before the bell rang. This wasn't about muscle or power. It was about staying calm in the chaos, staying sharp when everything's falling apart. Usyk does that without blinking. Daniel couldn't, especially with all the noise his camp created. He didn't lose to just Usyk. He lost to the weight of bad prep and a team that distracted more than they helped. Mosley's quiet voice makes the message even clearer. Daniel didn't give up. He got broken by someone who simply built different.
No, I think Daniel was in the right mindset. I mean, I just think that Usyk had too much for him, like too much mental, too much experience, too much. He had too much for him. There was nothing he could do about that. If it was a smaller Usyk like it was when he fought the first time, maybe Dubois had a good chance. But now that Usyk's bigger and stronger, he already has this. So yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for the heavyweight division now.
Dominic Ingle doesn't hold back, and his Viking comparison might sound wild, but it fits perfectly. What Stan Dubois allowed before the biggest fight of his son's life wasn't just bad planning, it was chaos, like some loud drunken festival before a war. But this isn't ancient times. This is elite, world-class boxing, where one wrong move before the bell can ruin everything. Instead of making Daniel sharper, his team dulled his edge with ego, noise, and pure distraction. Usyk didn't just win the fight, he walked into that ring already knowing the other corner was a mess. And Ingle's right, you don't go to war with party vibes unless you're ready to get crushed. That's exactly what happened. Stan's poor decisions didn't just cost them strategy, they cost them dignity. Daniel wasn't just beaten, he was set up to fail by the people who were supposed to protect him. Ingle's Viking reference isn't just colorful, it shows how outdated and reckless the mindset was. A title fight isn't a hangout. It's survival at the highest level.
The only people who used to party before battle with the Vikings were, and it used to get pissed up and, you know, dull the senses and then go and have a fight. But they win a proper die if they, you know, if they.
Dominic Ingle doesn't just throw shade, he drops a brutal truth bomb. He suggests what no one wants to say out loud. Daniel Dubois might never have believed he could beat Usyk, and when that belief is missing at the core, everything else is just decoration. That so-called gathering. It wasn't confidence, it was camouflage, a loud, messy distraction to hide the quiet fear nobody wanted to face. When a fighter is locked in, he doesn't need cheers, cameras, or shallow hype. He needs silence, strategy, and steel. But what Stan Dubois allowed was the opposite. He packed the room with people who wouldn't feel a single punch, but were happy to post up ringside, sipping and smiling like it was a celebration, not a war. Ingle calls it exactly as it was, theater, a noisy illusion built to drown out the doubt. And when the lights hit and the bell rang, Daniel was alone. Those hangers-on vanished where it mattered most. In his mind, in his corner, in the fire. The setup wasn't confidence. It was quiet surrender dressed in noise. Ingle's take stings because it exposes the rawest wound. That party wasn't bold. It was a masked admission of fear. And Stan, he let it happen. Worse, he might have needed it too.
Realistically, I don't even think Daniel thought he was going to win that fight. So it's no good having all these people turning up, all these celebrities, you know, getting drunk and having a party on your behalf when it's you going and doing the fighting and they're doing all the shouting.
When your own blood calls you a disgrace, it cuts deeper than any critic ever could. Caroline Dubois didn't lash out for headlines. She spoke from a place of hurt, frustration, and hard-earned truth. As a disciplined, rising talent in the boxing world, she knows exactly what it takes to prepare for war. So watching her brother walk into the biggest fight of his life surrounded by chaos, denial, and a hype-fueled bubble must have felt like watching a slow-motion betrayal. This wasn't about losing to a generational great like Usyk. That happens. This was about how Daniel lost. No fire, no edge, no fight. It was like watching a man enter the ring already defeated. Caroline's outburst wasn't cruel. It was a cry for accountability. She didn't see grit. She didn't see hunger. She saw a camp built on ego, smoke, and mirrors. And she called it what it was. Disgraceful. She wasn't just reacting as a sister. She was reacting as a fighter who knows what real war prep looks like. And this wasn't it. Her words cut through the excuses, the distractions, the fake supporters. Because when someone that close to you sees the truth, there's nowhere left to hide.
Don't pretend the man is supremely talented, but time and season is everything in the sport.
Caroline Dubois didn't just speak her truth, she weaponized it with precision. By giving Usyk his well-earned flowers, she indirectly burned down the fantasy her brother's team had built around him. She didn't need to shout. She didn't need to insult. All she had to do was highlight everything Usyk did right. And in doing so, she exposed everything Daniel's camp did wrong. Usyk is the embodiment of championship discipline. Moved up in weight, took on giants, never lost focus. No theatrics, no noise, just pure calculated work. Caroline's admiration for that isn't just respect, it's a rebuke. Because where Usyk trained in silence, Daniel's camp threw parties. Where Usyk sharpened his mind and body, Daniel was drowned in selfies and slogans. Her words draw a brutal contrast. Usyk prepared like it was life or death. Daniel's team acted like it was a school reunion. And Caroline saw the difference long before the first bell. That's why her praise for Usyk isn't just a compliment, it's a gut punch to her own camp. She knows greatness when she sees it, and she knows when it's being faked. Her message is loud and clear. You don't beat a master of war with carnival energy. You beat him with obsession, discipline, and absolute clarity of purpose. Daniel didn't just lose, he wasn't ready to win. And Caroline's spotlight on Usyk makes that painfully obvious.
I think Usyk is a phenomenal fighter, phenomenal athlete. To move up in weight, to become undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight, that speaks of his talent. You know, you can't fake that, you can't make that up.
The Dubois-Usyk saga wasn't just a defeat, it was a televised breakdown of everything broken behind the scenes. From the moment Stan Dubois was caught on camera turning Fight Week into a reckless, ego-fueled carnival, the writing was on the wall. Daniel wasn't walking into a ring, he was walking into the lion's den with his back already broken. Usyk? Calm? Silent? Focused? A soldier of legacy, not likes. He didn't need hype. He brought history. Meanwhile, Daniel arrived with noise, distractions, and a team more interested in the spotlight than the strategy. Every voice in this post-fight reckoning, Johnny Nelson, Dominic, Ingle, Adam Smith, even his own sister Caroline, pointed toward the same hard truth. This wasn't just a loss, this was sabotage. Stan Dubois turned a world-class training camp into a PR stunt. Don Charles, instead of taking the reins, faded into the background, and when the lights came on, Daniel was left exposed, physically underprepared, mentally shattered. No controversies. No excuses, just a cold, clinical dismantling by a champion who lives and breathes this sport. And Caroline's final blow? Brutal, honest, heartbreaking. Even his blood had seen enough. Her words weren't hate, they were grief. For what was lost, for what could have been. Now Daniel stands at a crossroads. Does he cut ties with the chaos and rebuild from the ruins? Or does he stay shackled to a system that failed him on the biggest night of his life? Because this wasn't just a fight, it was a mirror. And now we ask you, is Daniel Dubois finished at the top, or is there still a warrior buried beneath the wreckage? Let us know in the comments.